On today's episode, I'm going to teach you all about how analogman is an important part of effects pedal history. I'm going to play my favorite pedals that he's ever made. I'm going to tell you all kinds of stuff. It's going to get rowdy. It's going to be fun. I just need you to trust me. As I've often said on the show, companies don't make things, people do. So to understand why analogman is great, you need to know, first of all, that analogman is a person. His name is Mike Piera, and he got started in the mid-'80s, I think around 1985, when he moved to Japan to be a software engineer. So he's over there, he starts seeing vintage guitars he'd never seen in the States, effects, and just a universe of crazy stuff that was very collectible and interesting to him. So he starts tinkering around, recreating some of these rare effects. He starts modifying things for friends. One thing leads to another, and he starts a pedal company. And he's one of the very few OG boutique builders that was pre-internet. As a matter of fact, I believe his website was the second or third pedal website ever made. That's astronomically crazy to think about because there are millions of guitar-related threads, websites, and posts. With all that said, let's look at my favorite analogman pedals. I'll tell you a little bit about them. We'll do some jams. Let's jump right into this and talk about analogman's most popular, famous, and prestigious pedal. It is the King of Tone Dual Overdrive. This is a doozy because on the used market they go for really crazy prices, and if you are on his waiting list where he sells it at a very fair and reasonable price, the wait is sometimes 2 years. I've heard 3 years, I just don't know what's true. But all that said, it's a fantastic pedal. He makes these by hand, and yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, except there is an easier way to get this sound, and it came out in the form of a pedal called the Prince of Tone. I just so happen to have one with the box. He has the box. And a story. Now, inside this, here it is, the Prince of Tone. On the back, it says P000 number 5, and the person I bought it from sent me a little message. Let me read it to you. It says, "Hey Josh, I have something quite special you might be interested in. I received the first analogman Prince of Tone that was made public. Analogman made 4 prototypes, and the first production pedal was number 5, which I have. You have probably heard this, but the idea came from 2 guys on the gear page. Mike responded to them and was interested in their idea for a yellow side of the King of Tone only. So this pedal is half of this pedal. Same sound, just half. And Mike sent number 5 to the thread creator, and this is it. So this is a little bit of history with the box, and I'm going to demo this because the other one's 2 pedals, and that would take too long. And I like this one more, actually, because it's simple, you can find it, and it's more affordable. I'm going to quit talking about it. Next up is, in my opinion, the most underrated and underappreciated analogman pedal ever made, and that will ever be made. I don't care what he does. I don't care what brilliant idea he has next. He'll never have a more underappreciated pedal than this. I know that's a big claim, but it's true. It is the Astro Tone Fuzz. It's 3-knob fuzz. It's based around a pedal that I actually don't have. But there's another version of the pedal that I don't have. The Samash Fuzz box, but anyway, I don't have the actual Astro Tone. There's a picture of it there. I'm dying inside silently.
I don't have this pedal, am I gonna say that? I just have to have that pedal.
The beauty of this is it is a 60s fuzz. It actually came out in 1966, but it feels more like a distortion. I actually think I would vote in an imaginary voting scenario in front of an imaginary panel of nerds who actually care about such a hypothetical situation that this would be the first distortion pedal ever invented, and he replicated it. But that imaginary situation doesn't exist, although I am telling you, so you're kind of an actual situation of the imaginary situation. So I'm going to vote to you. This could be the first distortion circuit ever made, and the most underrated ever made. This is a very important pedal. Let's play it. Next up is the oldest Analog Man pedal that I have date-wise. It's from 2001, and it's had some use, which means it's a great pedal. It is the Juicer. It's based around the Dan Armstrong Orange Squeezer, and again, I'm almost positive, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he was the first person to clone this in such a quality way and put it into an enclosure with true bypass. That said, I'm a huge fan of the Orange Squeezer. I based my compressor on it as well, and this one's fantastic. It's also beautiful. Somehow red on orange works. It's a mystery. One of the things that Analog Man is most fantastical at doing, and I do use that word as a choice word because he is fantastical at this type of circuit, it is recreating faithfully and very well classic fuzz face circuits from the 60s and 70s. If you don't want to fork out $1 billion for one of these and the enclosure size is massive, you can look at his line of pedals. They're called Sunface. There's several versions I'll go over here, but he covers different ranges and transistor types. Mike has extensive knowledge on transistors, leakages, and gains, and he just knows a ton, probably more than anyone out there to some extent, what was actually in certain pedals and how to replicate it. So one of the versions that's really cool is the BC109. That's the type of transistor in it. And you see this clock here. This hints at time, which is a Pink Floyd reference from Dark Side of the Moon. And this would have been the fuzz face-esque tone, sound, and circuit that David Gilmour used in that era. Then you have the BC183 version. It's just another type of transistor. Slightly different sounds, but different enough that they are completely different pedals. My favorite, though, I have the box.
He has the box.
Is the Sunface NKT. I'm not going to get into having the sticker and manual and all that stuff that really excites me, but I do have the bag, and that still excites me. Here it is. NTK red dot. Very, 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 very rare transistor type. I don't know that it sounds better because there is no better. Maybe it's because it's so rare I feel like it's better, but I do love how it sounds. Next is the Beano Boost. I have the miniature version. There is a larger box version, same circuit. And this is a very well-made, faithful recreation of the 60s Dallas Rangemaster, which was a box with no foot switch, uses a battery, has an annoying cable, you know, whatever. But it sounds great, and this sounds great. I love this for pedal boards because it's not obnoxious. And treble booster is not something that most of us, even though I love it, will run all the time. So it is kind of a peripheral effect for a lot of players, and you can get it on your board if the case is this size. So yeah, that being said, we'll play this. There is, tossing back to the fuzzes I just talked about, he makes the Sun Lion, which has this pedal here and then one of his sun faces there. It's pretty awesome. It's extravagant. If you're an extravagant person, you might want the 2-in-1. You might be a little crazy. You might be reckless and wild. I don't know, but I'm not. I just want this. I want the small one. It's simple. I'm a simple person. My mind is small. Let's play. Last but not least, never least, possibly most, not most, but it's cool. It is the Analog Man Chorus. This is based around a classic small clone. Now, the classic ones are getting hard to find. They have a very cool, unique sound, and he did it justice. This is one of the best Bucket Brigade choruses I think you can buy. It's simple, has 2 knobs, not a lot of bells and whistles because, let's be honest, you don't really need them most of the time. So I'm going to play this. I'm also going to play his modified Distortion by Boss, the DS1. This was the first analogman product I ever had. I remember sending it in and he modified it. So he has a big portion of market share when it comes to mods, and historically that's how he got started. So a lot of you may have those or have seen them. So I'll play these together. And we'll do like a bad Nirvana thing that should never have existed. Yeah, let's do that. In 2020, the term boutique is often convoluted and watered down. It's really hard to even know what people mean when they say, I only like boutique pedals. It's really hard to deal with. But in the truest form, boutique is small batch, small production runs, and usually by a small crew that gives incredible attention to detail. And I think in the current pedal market, it's a pretty rare thing, but analogman is actually boutique. So with that said, if you've ever wanted that definition and wanted to understand how to visually see it and see a product line that I feel like represents boutique, analogman is that. Let's go to record time. Today's record time is brought to you by 1995's Rubberneck by the band Toadies. This is, in hindsight, all these years later, you know, it's pretty influential. I listened back through this. They just released the vinyl, and I rip this record off constantly. The riffs are fantastic. I'm not saying I'm fantastic. I just say, like, this brainwashed me. And I didn't really know it. I'm kind of sharing that with you now. But if you don't know this record, you need to know it, because 1995 was, you know, it was a weird year. Gangsta's Paradise ruled the airwaves. But the Toadies were like, no. No Gangsta's Paradise here. We're going to scream and play alternative grunge rock, post-grunge, experimental alternative rock. And we're going to do it in a way that like peels your face off. This is a very important record to me. My favorite songs are Possum Kingdom. That was their one hit of being a 2-hit wonder. I Came From the Water is a solid hit. Not a huge fan of that song, but Tyler. The song Tyler. It's a creepy song, but it's interesting. So check this out. If you're a Patreon member of the show, there's a link in the description below. I'm going to give away a brand new sealed copy. It's never been played, and it's brand new. I already said that, but it could be yours. I don't know. In the comments, talk about this record, how you love it or hate it, don't care about it, never want to hear it, whatever, just let me know. Thanks so much for watching this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. And in closing, I just want to make the point and say that companies like JHS and dozens of others would not exist if it were not for people like analogman, who started this boutique industry in the early 2000s. We all owe him a great debt, and he's done such a great job keeping effects history and important circuits alive and available to players like me and to you. There is a book that he's involved with. You can get it on Reverb. There's a link in the description below. It's by Tom Hughes, but he was a huge part of this process. It's called Analogman's Guide to Vintage Effects. I dig through this often because there are interviews with people who are no longer with us. There's some really great stories, information, photography. It's a really important book because no one's really put this amount of effort into something to this degree. So go check it out. Hit like if you did like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon to get notifications of future episodes. Go watch some other analogman demos, people that actually play guitar well, and just have fun. Do stuff. Go do things. Go eat. Go get a snack. Bye.